starlight and shadows. In the shimmering sprawl of Los Angeles, where palm trees cast long, lazy shadows over sun-bleached boulevards, a young actress named Lila Harper stood at the edge of her own reinvention. At 27, Lila was no stranger to the spotlight. Her face adorned billboards, her name trended on social media, and her performances in gritty indie films and glossy streaming series had earned her a legion of fans. But fame, she was learning, was a double-edged sword, a dazzling blade that could cut as deeply as it shone. Lila's latest role wasn't on screen but in the court of public opinion, sparked by a single, innocuous act, registering to vote in her new home state of Florida. She'd moved there 6 months ago, trading the frenetic pulse of Hollywood for the humid serenity of the Keys, seeking a quieter life after years of red carpet chaos. The decision to register as a Republican, made in the privacy of a county clerk's office on a muggy June morning in 2024, had seemed routine at the time. It was a choice rooted in her upbringing in a small Idaho town, where her parents, teachers, and neighbors leaned conservative, valuing self-reliance, community, and tradition. Lila didn't think much of it beyond that, a checkbox on a form, a nod to her roots. But the internet, as it so often did, had other plans. The story broke on a sweltering July afternoon, when a viral post on X claimed that Lila Harper, the darling of progressive streaming dramas, was a registered Republican. The revelation came not from Lila herself but from a sleuthing user who dug into Florida's public voter records. By evening, the hashtag Lila Harper Republican was trending, and the online world erupted into a cacophony of opinions. Some fans felt betrayed, citing her roles in feminist-leaning stories as evidence of a progressive heart. Others celebrated her as a symbol of defiance against Hollywood's liberal monoculture. Pundits on both sides seized the moment, spinning narratives that painted Lila as either a traitor to her generation or a beacon of independent thought. Lila sat in her beachfront bungalow, the ceiling fan whirring lazily above her, scrolling through the chaos on her phone. Her manager, Priya, had already called 3 times, urging her to release a statement. "You need to get ahead of this," Priya said, her voice tight with urgency. "The blogs are eating it up. They're saying you're endorsing Trump, for God's sake." "I didn't endorse anyone," Lila replied, her voice steady but her stomach churning. "I just registered to vote. That's it." "It's never just anything with you," Priya said. "You're Lila Harper. Everything you do is a statement." Lila ended the call and tossed her phone onto the couch. She stepped onto her porch, where the Atlantic stretched out like a sheet of glass under the setting sun. The air smelled of salt and possibility, but her mind was tangled in the weight of her own image. She wasn't naive, she knew fame amplified every choice, every misstep. But this? This felt like a theft, as if her private decision had been ripped from her and weaponized by strangers. The controversy wasn't entirely new. 2 years earlier, Lila had thrown a surprise party for her mother's 60th birthday in their Idaho hometown. It was a joyous affair, filled with country music, barbecue, and custom-made hats that read, "Make 60 Great Again," in playful homage to her mother's milestone. Lila had posted photos on Instagram, beaming alongside her family, unaware that a few guests wearing "Blue Lives Matter" shirts would spark a firestorm. The internet pounced, accusing her of endorsing conservative causes. She'd responded then with a heartfelt post, "This was an innocent celebration, not a political statement. Please stop making assumptions." The backlash had faded, but the memory lingered, a warning of how quickly her life could be reframed. Now, as the storm grew, Lila felt the same script repeating, only louder. She was starring in a new American Eagle campaign, a nostalgic nod to denim-clad Americana, complete with a punny tagline, "Lila Harper has great genes." The ads, shot on a dusty ranch with Lila leaning against a vintage Mustang, were meant to be playful, sexy, and empowering. She'd loved the creative process, collaborating with the brand to design a line of jeans that would raise funds for a mental health charity. But the wordplay, jeans, instead of jeans, had ignited a firestorm of its own. Critics on the left called it tone-deaf, accusing the campaign of flirting with eugenics imagery by highlighting Lila's blonde hair and blue eyes. Conservative commentators, meanwhile, hailed it as a middle finger to woke culture, with one Fox News pundit declaring, "Lila's proving beauty isn't a crime." Lila wasn't sure whether to laugh or cry. The ads were about genes, not ideology. Yet the internet had spun them into a referendum on race, politics, and her very identity. She thought of her childhood friend, Maya, a progressive activist who'd texted her that morning, "Lila, what's going on? Are you okay?" Lila hadn't replied yet, unsure how to bridge the gap between her private self and the public caricature. That night, Lila drove to a quiet diner on the outskirts of town, a place where the locals didn't care about her fame. She sat in a corner booth, nursing a coffee, and opened her journal. Writing had always been her refuge, a way to untangle the noise in her head. She began to sketch a story, not about herself, but about a fictional character named Ellie, a young woman navigating a world that demanded she choose sides. Ellie grew up in a small town nestled in the Rockies, where the sky was so wide it seemed to swallow the stars. Her father was a mechanic, her mother a schoolteacher, and their lives revolved around church potlucks and Friday night football games. Ellie was a dreamer, sketching designs for clothes she couldn't afford and writing stories about far-off cities. At 18, she left for Los Angeles, chasing a career in fashion design. Her talent landed her a job with a major brand, and soon she was dressing celebrities for red carpets, her name whispered in industry circles. But Ellie's success came with a price. The city was a kaleidoscope of voices, each demanding allegiance. Her colleagues were vocal progressives, rallying for inclusivity and change. Her family back home, meanwhile, clung to conservative values, wary of the cultural shifts they saw on the news. Ellie felt caught in the middle, her identity stretched thin between two worlds. She registered to vote in California, choosing a party not out of conviction but out of habit, echoing the values of her upbringing. She didn't think it mattered, until it did. One day, a colleague discovered Ellie's voter registration and posted it online, framing it as a betrayal. "How can someone who designs for diversity vote like that?" the post read. The backlash was swift. Ellie's designs were called problematic, her motives questioned. She tried to explain herself, but her words were drowned out by hashtags and hot takes. Conservative influencers, sensing an opportunity, claimed her as one of their own, twisting her quiet choice into a battle cry. Ellie felt like a pawn in a game she hadn't signed up to play. Desperate for clarity, Ellie returned to her hometown for a weekend, hoping to reconnect with her roots. But the town felt different now, its simplicity tinged with the same divisions she'd left behind in LA. Her old friends asked pointed questions about her politics, while her parents beamed with pride, misinterpreting her silence as agreement. Ellie realized that no place, not the city, not the town, could fully claim her. She was a mosaic of contradictions, shaped by love, doubt, and the courage to exist in the gray. Back in LA, Ellie poured her heart into a new clothing line, one that defied easy labels. Her designs blended bold colors with classic cuts, celebrating individuality over ideology. She partnered with a charity to support mental health, a cause that transcended politics. At the launch event, she stood before a crowd of industry insiders and said, "I'm not here to tell you who I am. I'm here to show you what I believe in: connection, creativity, and the freedom to be yourself." The room was silent for a moment, then erupted in applause. Not everyone agreed with her, but they respected her honesty. Ellie had found her voice, not in choosing a side, but in choosing herself. Lila closed her journal, her coffee long cold. Writing Ellie's story had clarified something for her. She wasn't Ellie, but their struggles mirrored each other, a young woman caught in a cultural tug-of-war, her choices dissected by a world hungry for symbols. Lila's Republican registration wasn't a manifesto, it was a fragment of her story, rooted in her past but not defining her future. She believed in personal freedom, in community, in the power of art to bridge divides. She also believed in a woman's right to choose, in equality, in the messy complexity of human values. The world wanted her to be one thing, liberal or conservative, hero or villain, but she was more than that. The next morning, Lila called Priya. "I'm not doing a statement," she said. "I'm doing something better." She spent the next week working with her team on a new project, a short film, funded by her production company, that would tell a story about identity in modern America. The film followed a young woman, not unlike Ellie, navigating fame, family, and the pressure to conform. It didn't preach or pick sides, it asked questions, inviting viewers to see themselves in the character's journey. Lila starred in it, directed it, and poured her heart into every frame. When the film premiered online, it sparked a different kind of conversation. Fans shared their own stories of feeling torn between worlds, of resisting labels, of finding strength in their contradictions. Critics, for once, didn't know how to pin her down. The film wasn't about politics, it was about humanity. And in that, Lila found her power. The sun was setting over the Keys as Lila stood on her porch, watching the horizon. The internet was still buzzing, but it felt distant now, like static from a far-off radio. She'd made her choice, not to fight the narrative, but to rewrite it. Her voter registration, her jeans campaign, her very existence, they were all part of a larger story, one she was still writing. And in modern America, where every choice was a battleground, Lila Harper chose to be a storyteller, not a symbol.